After studying this module, you will be able to understand why it is essential to study organization behavior, definition of manager and organization, functions and competencies of managers, define organization behavior and its goals and elements.
Organizations are everywhere, and managing people has been identified as one of the most critical aspects of a job. Unlike the other factors of production, namely materials and technology, human capital is very complex and unpredictable. Their creativity and bent of mind can no doubt be utilized to enhance productivity, but at the same time, it can develop to frustrate rather than to facilitate. Organizational behavior, therefore, has emerged as a scientific discipline which explores and suggests remedial actions to control and empower the tricky and complicated people dimension of organizations and managing. Organizational behavior is the system of study and the careful application of how people, as individuals and as groups, act within an organization. It is a scientific discipline in which the varied research studies and the conceptual developments are constantly contributing to the knowledge base. It is traditionally focused on the motivation and the coordination of organizational's internal stakeholders or the employees. The traditional definition of organizational behavior is thus the study of individuals and their behavior within the context of the organization in a workplace setting. However, with the passage of time, it has become essential to redefine OB since the very concept of organization has changed, and so is the behavior traditionally. Robbins defined as an organization as a consciously coordinated social unit composed of two or more people that function on a relatively continuous basis to achieve a common goal or a set of goals. It's characterized by the formal roles that define the shape and behavior of its members. However, a modern organization can be defined as an open system that has continuous interaction with the environment through the exchange of inputs and outputs with a bi-directional feedback. With the globalization of business, increasing diversity with the workforce in today's workplace, there is a remarkable transformation in the running of organizations and industries. Organizations like Infosys effectively combine people and the scientific approach. With the rapid advancement of science it has become increasingly tough to master technology, and when the human angle is added to the mix, the socio-technological systems that emerge become more and more difficult to comprehend.
To begin with, let us know what organization behavior offers. It offers managers to develop their interpersonal or people skills, investigates the impact that individuals, groups, and structures might have on behavior within the organization, systematic study to improve predictions of human behavior, challenges and opportunities for managers by enabling them to realize the value of workforce diversity. The job of a manager is to make decisions, allocate resources, direct the activities of others to attain the goals of the organization. In other words, we can say that a manager gets things done through people. Moving on to the organization, it is a social unit where two or more people consciously work in a coordinated manner on a relatively continuous basis to achieve a common goal. Thus, Manufacturing and service firms are organizations. You can also consider schools, hospitals, retail stores, etc., as organizations. The people who supervise the activities of others and are responsible and accountable for attaining the organizational goals are called managers. Management defines the goals and shows the means through which it can be achieved. There are four steps for it. That is, planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. Planning. Planning refers to identifying and defining the goal. It also includes the steps of establishing an overall strategy for achieving the goals. Organizing. The managers decide what tasks are to be done and who would do them, who is going to report to whom, and who will take the decisions. Directing. The function of leading and directing includes motivating the subordinates, directing them, selecting the most effective communication channel, and resolving conflicts amongst the members. Control. The management exercises control by monitoring the organization's performance. This is done by matching the actual performance with the previously set goals. In this way, deviations can be traced and steps can be taken to set the organization on the right track. A manager's functions can be executed on the basis of five competencies, which are managing self. You can understand others only when you understand your own self in terms of your strengths and weaknesses, which will alone enable you to strike and maintain work life balance. The concept of emotional intelligence is to be included in managing self, which will assist you in building your career. Managing business communication. Ability to use all the modes of transmitting, understanding, and receiving ideas, information, thoughts, and feelings verbally, non verbally, and electronically. Providing constructive feedback is an art which needs to be developed. Ethics and culture. As a manager, you must have the wisdom to determine the difference between right and wrong. Manage workforce diversity in teams. You should be able to value unique individual and group characteristics. Intellectual openness and positivity in attitude will enable you to appreciate individual uniqueness and thus develop, support, and facilitate, and also to lead teams to achieve the organizational teams and groups. Manage change. It includes the ability to recognize and implement the needed adaptations or entirely new transformations in the employees, strategies, structures, or technology. You have been reading people all through your life, and normally, on the basis of your observation, you have been able to interpret their behavior. Let us perform an exercise. This exercise will help you to realize that the generalizations that you hold for people on the basis of observing, sensing, asking, reading, looking, how far are they really accurate? Have a look at the statements shown here. How many statements do you feel are true? Majority of the statements are not true. However, it does not matter whether these statements were true or false. This exercise was undertaken to make you realize that most of the time we tend to use our intuition or gut feeling to predict human behavior, which may be wrong. Organizational behavior can be defined as a field of study that investigates the impact that individuals, groups, and structures have on behavior within organizations for the purpose of applying such knowledge towards improving an organization's effectiveness. OB focuses on how to increase productivity, reduce absenteeism, and turnover. Organization behavior enables you to systematically analyze human behavior rather than go for gut feeling based on emotions rather than rational. It thus enables you to analyze as well as predict behavior. There is a difference between the way current organizations are run and the way they were being run earlier. There is an interplay of multiple causes which have brought about the difference. Now, a culture of openness, high accessibility to information, empowered individuals and groups exist, which was not there earlier. Organizational behavior as a discipline should take into account the emerging issues in the changing context. OB is an interdisciplinary behavioral science which studies phenomenon and dynamics, both the internal as well as external, in a systematic and strategic manner. Organization behavior is an interdisciplinary behavioral science studying phenomenon and dynamics or the processes of organizations, their various human units, individuals, roles, dyads, teams, interteams, organizations, and the organization environment interface. Organization behavior focuses on behavior and performance of both the individual as well as the organization. Here, the focus is on the ability and aptitude of the individual and its alignment with the organization's goal. The individual's willingness to perform is closely related to the support that the individual receives from the management. Organization behavior involves the dynamic interplay among individuals, teams, and leadership behavior, and the organization itself. The four goals of OB are: the first is to describe systematically how people behave under a variety of conditions. The second goal is to understand why people behave as they do. Managers would be highly frustrated if they could only talk about behavior of their employees but not understand the reason behind those actions. Predicting future employee behavior is another goal of organizational behavior. Ideally, managers would have the capacity to predict which employees might be dedicated and productive or which might be absent, tardy, or disruptive on a certain day. This would allow them to take preventive actions. The final goal of organizational behavior is to control and develop some human activity at work. Effective organization are characterized by effective communication and competent human resource management, strong leadership, strategic planning, organizing, directing, and controlling, appropriate organization structure and design, speedy, accurate, and participative decision making. There are five elements of organization behavior. First, people. This element includes individual employees who are expected to perform the task allotted to them, dyadic relationships that refer to superior subordinate interactions, groups which work as teams and achieve the target, people outside the organizational system, such as customers, clients, suppliers, vendors, and government officials. 2. Jobs and tasks. The jobs refer to the sum total of an individual's assignment at the workplace, and tasks refer to the various activities that need to be performed to get the job done, which is contextual. 3. Technology. It refers to the mechanism by which the output or the end product or service of the organization is produced. 4. Structure refers to the various job positions and the levels of reporting relationships that are set up in an organization. Depending on the nature of the job, it can be hierarchical with a tall pyramid or flat and lean. 5. Process refers to the way by which the manager gets the things done.
Taking into consideration that organizations do not operate or survive in a static environment, organizational behavior has expanded its scope to include the organization as a whole entity. It focuses on the macro as well as the micro view of business. These challenges have made deep impact on various aspects of human life, with deep implications all over the management of organizations. Although people are regarded as important in management organizations, the centrality has become sharper in today's changing world. The role of the manager has been redefined due to the globalization since the economy is knowledge driven and business is customer centric. Earlier, the role of the manager was to get things done through other people. They achieved their goals through planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the internal stakeholders. Now, there is a visible change. Managers today have become research oriented. They are receptive to new models, new ideas. They support related research and experiment with new ideas. Garvin in 2013 observed in his case study Google's Project Oxygen, do managers matter? That since everyday Google people throughout the organization felt that managers are not required at all. It was a company built by engineers for engineers, and most engineers wanted to spend their time designing and debugging and not communicating with bosses or supervising other workers. Hence, Google experimented with a completely flat organization, eliminating engineering managers in effort to break down the barriers to a rapid idea development and to replicate the colloquial environment they enjoyed in a graduate school. That experiment could last for only a few months. They relented when too many people went directly to page with questions about expense reports, interpersonal conflicts, and other nitty gritty issues. And as the company grew, the founders soon realized that the managers contributed in many other important ways. For instance, by communicating strategy, helping employees to prioritize projects, facilitating collaboration, supporting career development, and ensuring that the process and systems are aligned with the company goals. Hence, the role of the manager has moved beyond merely planning, organizing, controlling, and directing. Organization behavior now focuses on the development of five competencies, which are managing of one's own self, managing business communications, managing ethics and culture, managing workforce diversity and teams, and managing the dynamics of change. The first and foremost is managing self. Managing self includes the core abilities of identifying one's strengths and weaknesses, which will help in maintaining the work life balance. The concept of emotional intelligence is being included in managing self, which will assist in building a career graph of the manager. The second important competency that a manager needs to develop, keeping the emerging trends in mind, is to manage business communication, a skill that encompasses the ability to use all the modes of transmitting, understanding, receiving information, thoughts, feelings, verbally, non verbally, and electronically. The third competency that needs to be focused is managing ethics and culture. Managing ethics and culture refers to the ability to identify and describe the principles of ethical decision making, assess the importance of ethical issues, and apply government laws and regulations, demonstrate dignity and self respect to others in the working relationships, understand and appreciate the cultural differences that make us so unique, understand what motivates the employees with different values and attitudes, and communicate in a language of the country with which the individuals are a working relationship. The manager must have the competency to manage the workforce in a diverse team. It includes the ability to value unique individual relationships and group characteristics. Another important competency is the ability to manage change. It includes the ability to recognize and implement the needed adaptations for an entirely new transformation in the employees, the strategies, the structures of technology. Organizational behavior assists in developing the above mentioned competencies. Therefore, we can say that management skills revolve around technical skills, human skills, and conceptual skills, which have been redefined due to the emerging trends.
Following are the emerging trends of OB: globalization, workforce diversity and the emerging employment relationship, technological advancements, workplace ethics, outsourcing.
Now, let us discuss the emerging trends in organizational behavior in detail. Over a span of less than 2 decades, the world has become increasingly interrelated due to globalization. The globalization can be defined as a process of economic integration at the international level. To illustrate this, as per the Times of India report, General Electric, which is making cheaper, has stripped down versions in its ECG and ultrasound machines in India, is now taking them to the world markets. Nestle's high nutrients, low cost variants of Maggi noodles at rupees 2 a packet, developed by the rural people, poor people in India and Pakistan, is on its way to Australia and New Zealand. Similarly, computer parts manufactured in 6 different countries and assembled in Malaysia before being transported by a Dutch freighter and to be sold into Russia. Hence, in order to remain competitive in this rapidly transforming global world, majority of the companies have entered into joint ventures, alliances, licensing agreements, which have altered the profiles of both the employees as well as the customers. The workforce diversity has increased manifold, and the people from different cultures are now working together. Due to this reason, there is a need for global leaders who who can manage expatriate assignments and culturally diverse teams have arisen. It has also been observed that with the whole world being converted into a single global marketplace, individuals and organizations buy raw materials, technology, services, and resources from the provider who offers a high quality at a low price. In this context, it is most complex and critical component that can be identified is the human resource. Organizations are in a state of flux and they need to change their structure in order to meet the challenges of the globalized cooperative environment. In today's workplace, we have come to understand that great management is not about character but not about techniques. In fact, it is easier to buy technology and to borrow both financial and material resources, but it is difficult to buy the human process in the form of speedy decision making, effective negotiations, team development, leadership development, strategy formulation. Still more, it is difficult to retain the talent of employees. It is essential not to nurture the talents only, but also to be able to retain them. Although people have been regarded as the most important asset, their centrality has become sharper in today's fast changing world. Whereas globalization refers to difference between people owing to different countries, workforce diversities, refers to the difference that exists between people within the same country. Moving on to the next emerging trend, that is workforce diversity. Management of a workforce is a great concern to everyone in the changing world. Environment and in the beginning of the 21st century having important implications for the management practice. Organizational behavior has contributed a lot in this domain. It has been observed in the study that people no longer live and work in an insular marketplace. They are now the part of a worldwide economy, with competition coming from nearly every continent. For this reason, profit and non-profit organizations need diversity to create a more open and to be changing. Maximizing and capitalizing on the workplace diversity has become an important issue for the management of today. Diversity is generally defined as acknowledging, understanding, accepting, valuing, and celebrating differences amongst people with respect to class, age, ethnicity, gender, physical and mental ability, race, sexual orientation, spiritual practice, and public assistance status. Hence, managers need to shift their philosophy from treating everyone to recognize the difference and responding to the different in ways that will ensure employee relationships and retention and greater productivity while at the same time not discriminating. The next trend in advancement in technology. The pace of change has been accelerated and there is an unprecedented way to the advancement in technology over the last century. With the growth of virtual groups, virtual organizations, the manager's role has increased manifold, from the role taker to the role maker. The world trade barriers have fallen due to the increased intervention and advancement in the field of information technology. A handful of people in the world used to operate computers in the mid 80s, but now it is common in homes as a radio used to be in the 40s. E-commerce has changed the complete scenario of working. The consumer can now purchase through internet. E-business has fastened the pace of B2C, that is business to customer transactions, as well as B2B, that is business to business transactions. Such changes are bearing an impact on the stock markets as well. Rapid technology and advancement in transportation, in communication, in recent decades have brought people of the world closer together in ways we could barely have imagined a decade ago. In India, communications have greatly facilitated by information and technology. Internet and intranets have facilitated information sharing, while cellular technology and teleconferencing has multiplied interpersonal and intergroup intertransactions and discussions. These have brought down the delays in decision making and is a cost effective method of bringing people together over long distances. In this context, the relevance of human process has increased tremendously. At the least trend in the workers' place ethics, the dynamic corporate world has marked an intensive cutthroat competition, and the maximum of survival of the fittest holds good even today. Due to the intense work pressures to meet the expectations, at times they are unrealistic. It is an increasing and becoming difficult to maintain the work life balance. These reasons propel the worker to at times resort to breaking of the rules, cutting corners, and sometimes indulging in questionable practices. Indulging, hence, members of the organization find themselves facing ethical dilemmas and at times do not know whether they should blow the whistle or not. What constitutes good behavior has never been clearly defined. For instance, as per the report in Times of India on 18 July 2012, Maruti's Manesar plant was hit by violence as a worker at one of his auto factories attacked the supervisors and started a fire that killed the company official and injured hundreds of managers, including two Japanese expatriates. The line differentiating between the right and the wrong has become blurred, and it's not one but many events that have happened around the globe, and such events around the globe due to which it has been realized that today's managers need to create an ethical, healthy climate for the employees. Organizational behavior focuses on why and how to create a healthy ethical environment. It enables them to write and distribute the code of ethics to guide employees through the ethical dilemmas. And now they are offering training and seminars in order to improve the ethical behavior and create a healthy climate in which a minimum degree of ambiguity exists between what constitutes the right and the wrong behavior.
In this module, you have learned about the discipline of organization behavior, how unprecedented changes in the society and technology have brought about a visible change in the individual, groups, and teams. You have learned in this module the goals and elements of organizational behavior.